Build your Bulletproof Blueprint for 2024. And there's a threefold purpose to this webinar. Number one, I want to show you how to start the year fast, focused, and fully committed. Really important. Secondly, I want to show you how to build a bulletproof game plan. This is how I build my game plan for the year. Going to show you exactly what I do. And then I want to throw in a challenge at the end and see if you're up for the challenge. So this is what we're about to go through. So let me give you a quick overview or backstory of Colin Hiles. So first and foremost, I'm an executive coach. That's predominantly what I do. I am a certified brain science geek, which you'll see in a minute, the sciences that inspire me. I'm a terrible surfer, although I love it, but I'm a brilliant tea maker. All my family are from South London. And so tea is the medicine that cures all ills. So if there's anything wrong with you, going to make a cup of tea. So I want to go maybe into a little bit about my unusual value proposition in this world of coaching. I have what's called a no growth, no pay. So when I start working with a C-suite, usually a CEO, CFO, usually, of one of the big FTSE companies, and I've had the good fortune of working with many now, I'm going to work with them for a year and not be paid. Nothing for a whole year. At the end of the year, if they're a better leader as defined by the people around them, then I get paid. And if they don't, if they're not better, then I've worked for a year for free. So I put a lot of skin in the game. All the risk is my side. I don't know anybody else that's out there that's willing to do that. And I think from your point of view, the relevance to you for this is, first and foremost, this is all I've done for 30 years. This has been my sole focus for 30 years. So I haven't just popped up as someone that's found this thing called coaching, has got excited about it and is now out there. It's all I've been doing for 30 years. And I've worked across all disciplines. I've worked in sport, I've worked in business, private, public. And as I say, this has been my focus. Secondly, and I don't say this to impress you, but to impress upon you, I'm in the top 1% of executive coaches out there worldwide based on the fees that I can charge. If a CEO wants to work with me now, my fee is $78,000 for the year. And of course, that is an awful lot of money. As I say, that's not to impress you, but to impress upon you, I must know what I'm talking about to be able to get those fees and get results at the end of the day. And that's all anyone's really interested in. Can this coach get me the result that I want? Yes or no? And I'm willing to put my personal and professional reputation on the line every time I work with someone. I say, you're paying me nothing unless we get that result. A huge gamble and a huge risk. Also, what my methodology must be a methodology that works, because otherwise I'd be broke, right? So it must work. And that's what I want to share with you. My methodology is based in many of the sciences: behavioral economics, neuroscience, nudge theory, positive psychology, and social science. And all of that is packaged into what I've called the micro momentum method, which is a proven science-based program for behavioral change. And this is what I unleash with my clients. And all I've done is packaged it up so that it's more accessible to more people, and not only to the privileged that can afford the fees that I charge. So let's start with start fast. Okay, build momentum. And I'm going to use a simple little metaphor I think we could all wrap our heads around and understand. And that is that, a rocket that leaves Earth's atmosphere, or the gravity that holds it back, has to get out of that gravity then to get to this new world that it's going after. And this is a bit like us when we start New Year's resolutions. The gravity is what's stopping us. It's what's holding us back. It's default biases. It's the environments that we're in that sort of hold us back. And we've got to break through that. Now, I don't know if you know any of the stats on this, but when a rocket leaves the Earth's gravitational field, it has to get up to a speed of 7 miles per second. That's 25,000 miles an hour. And it uses about 90% of its fuel just to break out of that gravitational pull. So a lot of effort is required to break free of that gravitational pull. And it's a bit like us when it comes to achieving our New Year's resolutions. We start with new year, new me. And my friend Jim sent me these pictures, or this picture made me smile. that's a bit of comedic effect there. 1st of January, 2nd of January, 3rd of January, 4th of January, game over, back to doing what this gentleman was doing before. It's not really the 4th of January where most people actually quit their New Year's resolution. So my question to you is in the chat box, what day is it that researchers found, and it's a big pool of research, by the way, so I'm going to share this with you in a minute, found that most people give up on their New Year's resolutions? It's actually called Quitter's Day. What day do you think it is? Quitter's Day. So this is a piece of research that was done by Strava. They have that app where people basically track all the cycling or walking or running that they do. So this is 31 million people, and they tracked January, and they were able to pinpoint that it's actually the 2nd Friday of January, whenever that is where most people actually quit. In other words, the gravitational pull was too strong, and these individuals didn't get out of that gravitational pull. So they had this very classic new me, new year, new me, and it's over within the 2nd Friday, whenever that is. So ever wonder, let's talk about that. Ever wonder why we all say we're going to do something like exercise or listen better only to do the complete opposite? Or why we procrastinate even when we know what we're putting off is good for us? Or we struggle with distraction even when it takes us off of what we know we've got to get done? Or why we crave more food when we're full? Or why we keep ordering random stuff on Amazon, crap on Amazon, even though we've already got too much stuff? Why is it that we go for momentary pleasure in the short term, even when we know it's going to hurt us in the long term? I'm going to put it into one word I think we can all understand. It's called habits. And the rocket is really the habit that's going to get us to the new world, which is the goals, the dreams, and the intentions that we have, our New Year's resolutions. It's the behaviors that is going to get us there, which are our habits. And about 45% of what we do every single day is driven by habits, these unconscious habitual behaviors that we do. And as I've said at the top there, our life is really nothing more than the sum of all of our habits. And a big truth bomb here is we don't choose our personal, professional future, our habits do. In other words, your habits, my habits right now are driving us towards some kind of outcome. That may be the outcome that we want. It may be the outcome that we don't want. But it's habits that are doing it. And I struggled for many years with a sugar addiction. And this is me tracking 10 years of my weight. Someone took a photograph of me and I chucked it in there, which is me not looking at my best. Now, of course, I'm not massively overweight here, but I definitely had more than I wanted at that specific time. And as you can see, that there were many times that I hit this habit suicide where I kept trying, but kept failing. I lost weight, put the weight back on, lost weight, put the weight back on. And it was all because I had not got to what was really causing it, which was a sugar addiction, an addiction to sugar. I had a sweet tooth. Now, how many of you have got a sweet tooth? Give me a yes here if you've got a sweet tooth too, that you enjoy. All those things that we know are not good for us if we have them. Look, one donut every now and again, not going to make that much difference, but donuts every day probably is. Yes, so thank you, Yasmin. Yep, I've got one person out there that says yes, a sugar addiction. And it wasn't until I started, oh, thank you. More of you coming in now with a yes. It wasn't until I really started to understand the sciences that I was able to get control of this. And you see that it bottoms out. And I've remained pretty consistent. In fact, I've over the last year, I've improved my results and my stats even more. And so most of us on here have gotten Achilles heel. When I asked my list what habits are getting in the way, I was able to put them into this sort of a 10 habit bucket that you can see here. So we've got mental habits, emotional habits, work habits, diet habits, exercise habits, anti-clutter and organized habits, sleep habits, being present habits, tech habits, and then money habits. Now, I know this list isn't exhaustive, but it's a good start. But if you had more willpower, what habit would you nail? What habit would you like to change? I've just given you mine. Mine was definitely sugar. Sugar was getting in the way for me. I couldn't stop myself. I knew I shouldn't pick up that chocolate eclair, but I found myself eating the chocolate eclair and I couldn't control it. So just think of that. If I had more willpower, I would stop doing what? If I had more willpower, I'd start doing what? What is it that's getting in the way for you? So why we crave anything. Okay, so you can insert all the things that you've put right there. Reality is all of us are a little bit addicted to a lot of things. You know, it's human nature to crave more of what we like, and for most part, it's what makes life pleasurable. The problem is when our cravings get us into trouble and they push us down the path of a bad or destructive habit that we keep repeating, and it's not good for us. Now, there is a loop that's at the root of these worst habits that you're looking at here now, which I've called the craving loop. And it's this psychological loop that feeds our desires and really answers the question, why do we crave more? Whatever that more is, more good or more bad, why do we crave it? And this loop is really powered by three parts. So I'm going to take you through it. Then I want you to think about your habit and see how it relates to you. So you'll be able to see whether or not what I'm saying fits your sort of model of the world. So firstly, easy, effortless to do. Given choices, this brain of ours will always choose the path of least effort. It is an energy-saving machine. If you go back to when we were living on the plains, we had to only use energy for survival. So it's got very good and is very good at energy saving. Now, two researchers, just a bit of fun research here, they did some research and they come up with a concept which they called the banana principle. Now, they found that if you offer people a free bowl of fruit, and they would put fruit in like a reception area, and in there they'd put bananas and oranges. If you offer that as free, almost always the bananas get eaten first. Not the oranges, but the bananas. And why is that? Well, not because the bananas are more delicious than oranges. A lot of people say actually an orange is more delicious than a banana. It's simply because it's easier to peel. It's easier to peel a banana than it is an orange. So even the smallest amount of friction in our environment can keep us stuck in our old ways. In other words, we cannot get out and break out of this gravitational pull. In short, laziness is built deep into our nature. Secondly, rewarding, pulled to do. Basically, we learn habits depending on how rewarding and pleasurable the behavior is. Typically, we repeat the behavior that gives us the biggest release of, as someone put in here, a chemical called dopamine, which is a feel-good chemical. So every time that we do something, the brain figures out, does this give me good feelings or not good feelings? And basically what gets rewarded is what gets repeated. So when I'm rewarded, my brain goes, let's repeat that. So in short, we keep doing what causes us to feel good. And then the last one here is necessary or necessity. And this is where we're pushed to do something. Now, our brain sees it necessary to do a bad habit because it likes, or dislikes, I should say, uncomfortable feelings. It has this move away from pattern. We move away from pain towards pleasure. That's how we are all wired here. Now, here's what's interesting. Research has shown that compulsive behaviors, the things that we keep doing, are not necessarily driven by a need to get something met. They're often driven by emotions like boredom or anxiety or stress. The benefit we get from bad habits isn't that they solve a problem. The benefit, or the real reason that we smoke or eat or take drugs or gamble or whatever to the excess and get ourselves in trouble, is that it relieves an uncomfortable feeling. So our brain has learned that the bad habit is an escape from some uncomfortable feeling. And to complete this loop, what's the quickest way out of pain? Simple. Do the bad habit. Why? Because it gives us a reward. In short, bad habits are often the fastest way out of pain. You'll see people pick these things up when they're bored. They're in a queue, they're waiting, they're on a tube or a train. They'll pick these up, and that's often driven, the compulsiveness to pick it up is a move away from an uncomfortable feeling. So I think someone put in there emotional eating, classic example. I'm not eating because I'm hungry. I wasn't eating the sugar because I was hungry all the time. I certainly wasn't. One, it was a reward, and two, it was a move away from being uncomfortable. So if we just look at an app that's on our phone, something like Instagram, and we have a look at it through this lens of easy, rewarding, necessary, does it fit? Well, is it easy to actually get onto the, well, you've got your phone in your hand most of the time, or it's in your pocket not far away. With one touch, it's open and you can scroll as long as you want, and it's easy to scroll. Is it rewarding? Yes, when you receive a love or share or favorable comment, it triggers a release of dopamine, that same reward chemical that they have in slot machines, for instance, and it creates a positive feedback loop. So then the brain says, oh, maybe I'll get that feeling next time. Let's do that again. Is it necessary? Well, we might unconsciously be compelled to open the app because we are feeling bored or lonely or stressed or experiencing FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. That's why we'll open the app. Now, once this loop of easy, rewarding, and necessary becomes embedded in our neurology, then the compulsive behavior takes over, and then it becomes hard to quit. In other words, we're hooked. Every counterproductive behavior you and I do, every Achilles heel that we have, every bad habit we have is rooted in this psychological loop. So pick your bad habit, the thing that you know that you shouldn't be doing. You know it's not serving you. You know it's not going to bring for you better results in 2024. Often it brings the exact opposite of the results that we want. And then run yourself through that. Is what you're thinking about easy to repeat? Yes or no? Is it easy, hard? When you do the habit, are you rewarded in the present or are you rewarded in the future? More often than not, rewarded in the present, instant gratification, which someone also put in the chat. When you do the habit, do you experience comfortable or uncomfortable feelings? Now, without me even knowing, I'm going to guess that your bad habit is easy to repeat, provides immediate gratification, and helps you avoid uncomfortable feelings. And of course, everybody that I work with, thank you for all of you that are putting yes in there. Everybody that I work with, I know that when we start working, they've got habits as a leader that's not serving them, that is not making them a great leader. We figure out what they are, and then we look to change them over the course of the year. So new me, or sort of new year, new me, really requires new habits. And for new habits, we've got to make them easy to do, we've got to make them rewarding to do, and we've got to make them necessary to do. Now, I want you to focus on necessary there. Can you see how there's a switch that's happened? Rather than comfortable, then uncomfortable, we switch it so the brain learns that it's necessary to do this because I'll experience more pain if I don't do it and less pain if I do it. And that's what I want to show you how we create today. So we switch and rewire how we run our brain based on that. If we can take a new habit, new behavior that we've not done, and we can make it easy to do, and we can make it rewarding to do, and we can make it necessary to do, now we've got the craving loop working in our favor. Now, all of a sudden, things that we've struggled to do become easier to do. And that's the end goal. And that's how we break free of this gravitational pull. This is how we start the year fast, by understanding this and then setting ourselves up with some plans to make sure that we achieve that. Now, let's talk about staying focused. Let's talk about building your bulletproof plan for the year. And there's 3 steps to this. And we're going to use a simple little analogy here. I don't have my son took my binoculars when he went to, where was it he went to? Uganda, and decided to leave them there, and I've not bought a pair since. So I normally have a pair of binoculars that I now put up just to sort of explain. Now, if you look at them through the way that they're designed, then it zooms everything in. You can see things at a far distance, closer. But if you switch them around, you zoom out. It pushes everything away. And we're going to use this zoom out, zoom in as a way of building a really bulletproof, great bulletproof plan for the year. Now, let's talk about a problem first. Here's a problem that we all face. And I'm going to assume because you're on here, you're somebody that is, I do want to get better. I do want to improve. I read, I watch, I listen, and that's why I'm fundamentally here. Right now, we are overwhelmed by the information that's out there that can help us get better. It's like being dropped into a vast ocean of self-help information. So many books, webinars, so many podcasts, so many online courses, countless approaches, theories and programs to follow. And there's so many contradictions and there's so many opinions out there. And also this industry attracts a lot of what I call self-help charlatans, whose life behind the scenes is often a complete mess because they don't practice what they preach. And I've been around long enough to see this with my own eyes. I'm naming no names here. The problem for you and I is it's often hard to know where to start, and we never really reach any conclusion. We have what I call a lot of open loops rather than closed loops. And we end up feeling a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit confused, sometimes frustrated. And so we search for the answer in another book, in another podcast, in another training. And it's like we are swimming one stroke in 20 directions. What we want to do here is swim 20 strokes in one direction. So rather than going round, we want to go straight. So let's talk about how we do that. So firstly, what we want to do is we want to chunk time down into monthly chunks. And what they do is they give you and I a sort of a beginning and an end. And this is very important based on the way that the brain works. So rather than this time of a year, and one of the reasons we don't achieve our New Year's resolutions is because there is no urgency. You know, I've got all year, there's no urgency. Now this brain of ours has no urgency built into it. We have to manufacture it. Deadlines are one of the great ways of creating urgency. So that's one. Two, this approach of creating these small little sprints, 1 month sprints, what they do is they set us up to get more wins, and more wins creates good feeling, creates stronger belief, creates stronger confidence, which leads us on to get more wins. Thirdly, it's easy to measure how I'm doing. I set a goal, I go for it, I measure at the end of the month, how well have I done? And as I say, measure today for motivation tomorrow. As we begin to measure more, we become more motivated as a result of that. So this is why I'm in favor of 30-day challenges, and why I do 30-day habit challenges is because they work. And with my clients, we work in months. I work with them for 12 months, and we have 12 little experiments every month to see whether or not the habit that you want to change is improving the way that people are seeing you as a leader. So that's the first thing. Think in terms of monthly chunks. Now, what we do then is we zoom out. We actually turn the binoculars around and we look at them through the other way. And now we zoom out and we look at the year and we plan the year. And we use a very simple little tool here, which is part of the micro-momentum method, just to think about the year. What results do you want to achieve over the year? What habits do you want to address over the year? Now, in the first quarter, you could just focus on health habits, for instance. So the first 3 months, I'm going to just knuckle down and improve my health. The next 3 months could be on something like relationship habits. Then it could be on work habits. It doesn't matter. What matters is, I have a little saying, when in doubt, here it is here, when in doubt, zoom out. Is that we zoom out and we don't just rock up into January with a bit of, oh, I just want to get my health sorted out, which is very vague, very fluffy, not very helpful. But we bring it right the way down to the behaviors that if you change is going to make the biggest difference. And we map them out right at the beginning of the year. You map them out right at the beginning of the year. So already now you're thinking year, you're not just thinking January, which is a big problem for a lot of people. You're thinking year, you've got a yearly plan. And of course, you can change these, you can move them around, you can decide to do something different as you get closer. Of course, that's all possible. But then what we do is we zoom in, we turn the binoculars around and we zoom in and we pick one habit for that month, one habit for January, one habit for February, one habit for March, and so on and so forth. And we nail it. We absolutely nail it. And we use the micro-momentum method in order to do that. So start small. Here we call it a T plan, stands for tiny, easy action. So you come down to a very tiny, small action. The smaller, the better. The way to go is micro. That's another one of my little sayings here. The way to go is micro. You bring it down to something very easy to do. We do not want something difficult to do. We don't want to create internal resistance. We want to sneak under the internal resistance radar and start very small. Could be just a few push-ups, could be a few squats, could be read one chapter of a book. It could be meditate for 1 minute, whatever it is, we make it very, very small. Then start slow. We want to build momentum. Now, I know I'm talking about going fast here, but we want to actually build the habit through momentum, like that snowball effect. And another little saying that I have, where have I got it? Want to grow, then go slow. What we want to do is build momentum. And so rather than overwhelming ourselves by having a great big list of all the things we want to address, we pick one and we just focus on that one, and we slowly start to build momentum, like that snowball effect. Then start now. So many people put something off until, well, I'll put it off until. And in reality, that's a dangerous mindset. What we want to do is do something that we could do today, right now, that would start this domino effect, where we knock down the first domino, which knocks down the second domino, which knocks down the third domino. Now, you're probably not going to do this, because if I was where you are, I probably wouldn't. But just to give you an idea, right now, if you're up for it, do this with me, right? Just stand up and let's do 5 squats. Okay, so there's 1, there's 2, I know you're probably going to use a nutcase, that guy, 4, and then 5. What was that? I'll do 1 more. 6. Right, there you go. Now, well, no, I haven't got time to exercise. Well, that was about, 10 seconds. And we did 5 squats. Now, if you do 5 squats 3 times a day, and I usually do these when I click the kettle on to make a cup of tea, which I did just before I started this webinar, that's 5,400 odd squats for the year. But you see, then you might go to 10 squats because, well, that's too easy. Let's do 10 3 times. Then you might go to 20 squats 3 times a day. Well, that's 22,000 squats over the year. You're going to tell me that's not going to make a difference? Absolutely. Now, this is actually well documented, and it's called the domino effect. And what's been found is behaviors do not sit in isolation. They have this interdependent relationship. They're all connected. So when you start working on one, it affects something else. And so by knocking down one domino, you knock down another domino, you knock down another you knock down another domino. So let's listen to Ed Sheeran talking about this. And if you can't hear it, by the way, let me know. You should be able to hear this. But here he is being interviewed on a radio station, and he's talking about his top selling hit, Bad Habits, and the inspiration behind Bad Habits. So let's see if we can hear this.
Well, it's kind of a domino effect. It's kind of a domino effect of, like, I cut out spirits and other stuff, and then suddenly I would wake up earlier in the morning and be like, oh man, I actually feel like going for a run, and then you would run or go and do the gym and do weights or whatever, and then suddenly your body would start looking better, and I'd start having more self-confidence, and clothes that I didn't think would look nice on me or fit me started doing it, and then I was like, oh, this is nice. So then you eat less shit food, and then you exercise more, and it's just a domino effect of as I said in the song Bad Habits, like all bad habits lead to other things. If I have 1 beer, then I'm going to want another beer, and then I'm going to want a shot, and then I might want a cigarette, and then I might want a Big Mac, and those are all the things. But with healthy shit, it's if I drink water all day long, it makes me feel great, and then if I feel great, I might exercise, and if I feel great and exercise, I'm going to have a good night's sleep, and if I have a good night's sleep, I'm more likely to want to get up early in the morning and go and do it all again. So it's just a domino effect, but it's getting into it is the difficult thing of having these habits of.
How many of you relate to what Ed Sheeran has just said? Because if you've looked at the lyrics of his song Bad Habits, it's exactly that. So just give me a yes if you relate to what he's talking about, this domino effect that goes on. And this is what I've experienced myself. When you begin to, it's bad or good, it doesn't matter. It works exactly the same way. A bad domino knocks down another bad domino, which knocks down another bad domino, a good domino. Like this morning, getting up and going to the gym, I didn't feel like going to the gym. Tor came with me as well. Certainly didn't feel like going to the gym. But when you get back from the gym, I'm not going to, I'm not going to ruin the effort that I've put in by then not doing something tomorrow or doing the day after. That's how it starts to build this momentum that we're talking about. So many of you said yes, absolutely. So as we just wrap this up here, then zoom out to zoom in, what you're looking to do is create a start and finish line. That's why monthly habit challenges work really well. What they do is they build a consistent schedule. You've got your schedule for the year. You're not just ambling into January. You know what you want to work on for January. You know what you want to work on for February. You know what you want to work on for March. You may change that, of course, as you get started, but of course, it's still good to have a plan at the start. And it has this powerful domino effect. It's one thing affects, which affects, which affects, but we want this positive domino effect that we're talking about. Then at the end of the month, each month, we do a little evaluation. What's worked well? What did I learn? What will I change for next time? And you might decide to keep the habit, you might decide to drop the habit, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that you and I have this mindset of continuous experimentation that makes continuous improvement. I'm going to say that again because it's so important. What matters more than anything is you and I have a mindset of continuous experimentation that makes continuous improvement inevitable. And that's all I want with my clients. My income is based on it. Their brand and being seen as a better leader is based on it. That's ultimately what we want. And if you follow this approach of zooming out and then zooming in for a year, I promise you will achieve more in 1 year than most people achieve in a decade. As I've said, I put my year's income on the line with this methodology with everyone that I coach. This is how you put yourself in the top 10%. This is how you 10x your results year in, year out. This is how you create a bulletproof plan for 2024 and beyond. So lastly, as what are we up to? Crikey, look at the time already. Let's talk about fully committing. Now, this is how not to do it. All right, this is typical for many of us. What we do is we rely on motivation. We're all inspired, we're all pumped, we're all fired up at the beginning of the year. New me, new year, new me, right? Completely the wrong approach. Motivation is not there when you want it. It's not there when you expect it. It's not there when you need it. It's a fickle friend, and it should not be relied upon for lasting behavioral change. What you and I want to do is we want to make sure that we're consistent through creating these, what I call motivational systems in our environment. It doesn't matter how we feel. It's irrelevant how we feel. We should never let feelings decide whether we're going to or not do something. Otherwise, we're going to keep hitting that pause button, habit suicide like I did here. Now, let's talk about interested versus committed. Are you interested or are you committed? Now, this is something that I really need to figure out with my clients, you know, because yes, they're interviewing me as their executive coach, but I'm also interviewing them because in effect, I'm betting my year's income on them. And I'm not going to work with everybody if they're only interested. I need someone who is committed. I don't know if you've heard this old fable about the pig and the chicken who are deciding to open a restaurant together, and they're deliberating on the name of the restaurant. And so the chicken apparently proposes ham and eggs, and the pig objects and says, no thanks, you're only involved, but I'll be committed, which is really the difference between interested and committed. You know, you can be interested in losing weight, but are you committed? You can be interested in getting out of debt, but are you committed? You can be interested in meditating more, but are you committed? Now, here's the question that I will ask anyone to get a sense of whether they're committed or just interested. What will the consequence be if you don't do your new behavior, your new habit today? Now let's go scale of 1 to 10. 10 is that if you don't do it, you're going to lose something. Something is going to be lost. And at the other end of the spectrum is, well, nothing's going to be lost. There's no consequence. I have no skin in the game. There's nothing at stake. Because here's what I've figured out. No consequence equals limited to no action. This is called skin in the game. And how much skin are you willing to put in the game here? Now that skin could be anything from money to personal, a sort of a personal public commitment to a number of people, what I call promising in public, not promising in private. When we promise in private, we wiggle. When we promise in public, like I'm going to do a run, 5K, I'm going to do it for charity. The moment I say I'm doing it for charity, I tell everybody, it's game, I'm going to do it. Why? Because I don't want to be seen as someone who's a flake who says I'm going to do it and then not do it. Now you've got skin in the game. So remember the craving loop, easy, rewarding, and necessary. Putting skin in the game is how we make it necessary. Now we've got something to lose. And there's a lot of research out there that shows, I mean, global studies that show that human behavior is strongly driven by the motivation away from losing something. So it's more painful to lose something than it is to gain something. This is called loss aversion, by the way. So when you give yourself something to lose, you're probably going to be motivated. Here's an example. This is only a prototype. I don't think this was ever actually created, but this is a money shredding alarm clock. Now, can you imagine that the alarm goes off, you don't turn it off, and all of a sudden you see $100 bills, your $100 bill starting to be shredded? You're going to jump up pretty quickly and make sure that that doesn't happen, because there's something here to lose, and it motivates us away from pain towards pleasure. And in the 8 to Be Great toolkit, we have, which is in the micro momentum method, and these are all the tools that I use with my clients. We've got tools that make it easy, tools that make it rewarding, and tools that make it necessary. And so we're not reliant on feelings. We're reliant on embedding these tools into our structures, our systems, so that the tools get us to do the behavior we need to do on bad days, on days where I don't feel like doing it. That's why having these is what makes the biggest difference, and not using motivation. So we, interested. I just put that little rocket on there to say it's what should fuel us. The fuel for the rocket should be in not motivation, but in building these tools into our environment, into our lives, into our structures, so that we keep doing what we say we're going to do on a day-to-day basis. And this is how then the behavior becomes automated. We've got the habit in, and then away we go. I mean, just imagine becoming skilled at using these tools. This is what I call a chief habit hacker. They're all grounded in a lot of science, and they are already proven to work, even with the most busiest people that I work with. So even like, well, I don't have time. Well, who does? So this is how we say, no, I'm committed. I'm absolutely committed here to doing what I'm saying I'm going to doing. You've got to have something at stake. If you don't have something at stake, I'm afraid you don't have my money, because I know you'll wiggle. I wiggle too. I'm no different. So what are you going to put at stake? And once you do that, once you maybe tell a friend, this is what I'm going to do, or you figure out that if I don't do this, I'm going to pay this amount of money to a charity I don't want to pay it to. Anything like that can be what gets us over the edge and keeps us committed even when we don't feel like it. So quick recap then. You've learned habits run your life. You've discovered the craving loop that causes you to do this thing called habit suicide. You know that you've got to start fast. How do you do that? Make a new habit easy, make it rewarding, and make it necessary. You know how now to use the binocular focus trick. Zoom out, plan the year, zoom in, focus on 1 month chunks, one habit for that month, remembering the domino effect, that when you affect one, you begin to affect others. So just focusing on nailing one for the year. We have another little saying, which is one gets done. Makes all the difference. And then it's foolish to rely on motivation. What we want to do is we want to use strategic tools that build motivational systems, and that's how we stay committed. All right, the last 15 minutes. Now you've got a choice. The choice is this. You could take what you've learned on this here call today and apply it yourself. And I hope you've got value from it. I hope you've got a few ideas from it. Or choice number 2 is that we begin to work together fundamentally using the Habit Coach app and also the 30-day challenges. So let's talk about the app real quick here. It's the app that's changing habit apps. It's got mini training videos in there. You've got 30 videos, one a day, every day. It's very quick to watch. They are full of science, and they give you an action to do every single day. You're part of a community of habit hackers who, when you come in the app, you see are hugely inspiring to be with, are hugely supportive of each other, nudge each other to keep on the path and keep going, can make all the difference. And there's an Ask Colin channel, so you can ask me anything. I am your virtual coach in your pocket, day in, day out. I'm in the app every single day, and any questions that you've got, just post them in there and I'm going to get them answered for you. You've got Habit Tracker, so you can track your habits. You can see every time. You can build these things called winning streaks, which once again, you're going to learn about. A lot of science behind those. And I'm going to take you through, which is called the micro momentum roadmap here. These 5 stages that you're going to go through so that you learn how to build habits, how to install habits into your life, and you become what we like to call a chief habit hacker. So the way that the 30-day challenge works, and we're going to start in January 2nd is where we're kicking off the next one. You start by choosing a good habit, and you don't need to do anything. So there's nothing like, you don't have to decide before you start. You're going to be guided by me. Literally grab your hand and we're going to walk through each day. So just follow what I ask you to do each day, and it'll point where you'll decide the habit. You're going to get access to the app. We're going to unlock everything in the app for you. So you can get a video every single day, small action. You're going to learn how to use the 8 to Be Great toolkit, which is going to make all the difference when it comes to not relying just on how you're feeling. You're going to be coached daily. And also you're going to be in a fantastic community. And we're using nudge theory. Now, nudge was started here in the UK. David Cameron kicked off the nudge unit in the government. They nudge us to make better financial decisions, better health decisions. Nudge is just a gentle push in the right direction. And you're going to have nudge theory all around you. You're in this bubble. So you put the app on your front of your phone, so it's right there. You can see it. That's a nudge. You turn on notifications so you can see the red dots. You can have red dots every single day, a notification from me at a minimum every day. That's a minimum. You can have people also, if someone sends you a message, you'll see another little dot, or say two notifications. And then you're going to get an email from me, and that email is going to lay out the science and the action for the day. So you know exactly what to do. You don't need to do anything other than what I put in there. And this is going to take maximum around 15 minutes a day to do. That's all I'm asking of your time, 15 minutes. And I got a message from Martin, who basically said that these emails are such sort of helpful, as you like his metaphor there, stabilizers on your first bike. Gets even better, right? You're also going to get some special bonuses. So the first one is how to be happy. This is an 8-part video training course where I get into the habits of happiness. So maybe if this is something you're interested in, then this is going to be great complement going through micro momentum method on the app, and also picking a happiness habit to work on. Because I've found in all my years of coaching, the one thing that's true is that anyone can be happier. I could be happier, you could be happier. So you're going to get that. You're also going to get a book that I wrote, a little ebook that I wrote, which is all about habits. So you're going to learn about habits. If you want, you can read this from cover to cover, or you can dive in wherever you want to. You're also going to get a special bonus, which is my Habit Quit Sugar guide. Now, this here is relatively new. I learned so much from sugar. I mean, basically, I had fat storing habits. I went to fat burning habits, found my 6-pack. So much of it was down to sugar. And so I put this guide together, written this guide. It's a beautiful guide, covers everything, everything that you could ever want to know about sugar, where it is. But more importantly, what I do is I give you a 4-week plan. Week 1, do this. Week 2, do this. Week 3, do that. Week 4, do that. And how you using the micro momentum method and the 30-day challenge in the app in order to work through that. So if you know that you have a happy habit, yes. So thank you. If you know that sugar is something that's getting the better of you, then you're going to love this guide. You've seen the result that I've got. I've not put the weight on ever since. I still eat sugar, still will have those pancakes, still have the French toast, but I now control rather than be controlled. That's a huge difference. And you're also going to get my Hypno Habits. Here, these are 5 MP3 audios which you listen to, and these are life-changing in themselves. They are turbocharged with isochronic tones, which means you just listen to them. It hemi-syncs the brain. It puts you into a beautiful blissed out state. You've got me using NLP, timeline therapy, embedded commands, taking you on a journey to embed in the new habit. You've got habits that help you lose trauma, get rid of icky feelings, which is the dissolver. You've got Alpha Calm, which helps you deal with anxiety. I won't go into them just because of time, but these here are brilliant, and they've helped me. They've helped so many of my clients. They helped Tor tremendously when her father passed away and she couldn't sleep. She would just put on Alpha Calm, put them in. You don't have to have earphones, by the way, but she didn't want me having to hear it as well. She'd drop off to sleep super fast, and got her sleep back, got it back into a really good sleep pattern once again as a result. So these are really, really powerful. All the heavy lifting is done. All you've got to do is listen to it, put it in, press play and listen to it, and everything is done. Listen to 1 or 2 of these regularly. We're going to make a huge difference. Now, if you add up just in bonuses, that's $318 right there. And you're going to get all of that with the 30-day challenge. So that's included. So you've got a couple of choices here. If you really want to fully commit now, not be interested, but fully commit for a year and say, I'm in it for a year, I'm going for it for a year, it's a one payment just of $96. That's all that is. Now that works out at 27 cents a day, or $8 per 30-day challenge. And look, we can all find reasons, but $8 is not a lot of money. What is that? A couple of cappuccinos nowadays? That's $8 gone just like that. And here we're getting life-changing tools. But if that's not for you, and you're not ready to commit for a year yet, then what I've also done is I've put together a way that you can join just for January, only for January, and that's $30. That's $1 a day. That's it. So, and you're going to get all the bonuses as well, $318 bonuses, $318 worth of free bonuses, free gifts in there as well. So this is going to be up for 3 days. So, and then it goes down, because then we're going to start to get ready for the January challenge. So Sunday, the 31st, it will be done. So what does this all mean to you? Well, imagine being able to change bad habits and build new ones in a fast, easy, and fun way for the rest of your life. The difference that that will make compared to the major population out there that really don't understand how to do that. Secondly, that craving loop, which holds us back, which is this gravitational pull, you're going to know how to defeat it, this monster. You're going to know how to defeat it. And you're going to know how to actually get it working in your favor by utilizing the 8 to Be Great toolkit. You're going to see measurable results with your own eyes. Now, once you start seeing results, it does wonders for your self-confidence, wonders for your self-esteem, because now you start believing in your ability, and then you go after bigger things, loftier goals as a result of that. But that's not where we start, as you know. And just see yourself at the end of January feeling proud, feeling strong, feeling focused, as now you have the momentum going into February. Remember, we're not just thinking of January, we're thinking of the whole year. So now we're into February, we've got this momentum, and we've been doing this a year now. Craig helps me, he's on the call with me here. We've been doing this for a year now. We have so many great stories, so many people that have really changed, and are even on this call right now, that have really changed their habits for positive ones in a great way. And look, I'm even going to put in a 30-day money-back guarantee. If after 30 days you decide that this is not for you, and you haven't got at least 10x the value, then I'm going to return your investment. No questions asked. So you've got nothing to lose. All the risk is my side once again. And so it's down to me to prove to you that this is a smart investment in your life for the rest of your life. So thanks for watching the webinar. I trust you've learned a few things to win this New Year's resolution battle. I hope you join us for the 30-day challenge, whether that's a year or whether that's just for January. Thank you very much. Good night to you. Have a wonderful new year. We're off to New York tomorrow, so it will be habit building from New York. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.